Fun fact, this was my car. I know everybody has asked about Leroy. Hey everyone, and welcome back to CJRaceCars YouTube channel. Today, we want to talk about a few things that I think a lot of people have asked in the comments, and that is, what's the difference between a Pro Mod and what Cletus is getting, which is a steel roof and quarters, stock dimensions car. The only difference is it has plus 2 inches on the driver's side of stagger, which is legal. But other than that, there's quite a few differences. So we just happen to have a 2JZ Pro Mod that we built a few years ago for George Dodworth here. So we're gonna show you that car, show you the differences between that car and Eagle, and hopefully it'll make more sense after that. Danny is getting ready to start the header on the driver's side. Driver's side charge pipe is done. Andrew's welding it, so that's done. The header on the passenger side is done, and Taylor's finishing welding up that now. And then after lunch, me and Danny are gonna start on the driver's side header. I hope I said all that right. It probably didn't make sense, but there's not much left. Also, Troy has the passenger side door swinging. He's working on the latch on the back, and then he'll move to the driver's side door. Once the doors are mounted, probably in a day tomorrow, realistically, we'll have both the doors swinging and latched. We'll start on the front end. So the end of this week, front end, hood, doors will all be done, headers will be done, and won't be a whole lot left. All right, so we're over here with George Dodworth's Scion that we built. I think it's been about 3 years, maybe a little bit more since we started this build. And it's a all fiberglass body that PMAR built for us, and it's a Pro Mod. We'll start with the most obvious difference is that this car doesn't actually resemble the real size of a Scion. It does, however, have some of the same features as the roof, and the door looks similar. If you look at the side, the front end is much, much longer. I don't even know what the factory wheelbase is on a Scion, but I know it's a lot shorter than this. The wheelbase on this car is 113 inches, so it's 3 inches longer than Cletus's car. And this car originally is probably a lot shorter than a 69 Camaro. So it's very exaggerated, the body, and it's very low. I mean, you can see this thing's, everything about this car is Pro Mods in general. They're chopped down, they're narrower, they're wedged, the front ends are lower. A lot of stuff to make aerodynamics is one reason that the bodies are changed. Another reason is to make the rules right. So from the center of the spindle on this to the front of the body is 45 inches. We'll do the same thing on Cletus's car because that's what you're allowed to have, 45 inches from the spindle to the front, but it'll have a splitter because the front end is a factory dimension. So to get that 45, it has a splitter that hangs off the center. If you've seen some of our cars before, you've seen those on them, and that's what they're there for. You don't want to stage with the front wheel and you finish with the front end, and the front end be shorter on your car than somebody else's because basically they have an advantage there. That's why they do that. This car has that built in. Another thing, the cowl is not factory. That's for engine clearance and design. When they first built this body, their mold doesn't have a cowl, so we added a cowl. It does help looks, in my opinion. That's why we put it there. This car was originally being built to be my personal car. So it got about 75% of the way done, and Victor and Dan actually bought it. And then Victor and Dan sold it to George, who now has it. So, fun fact, this was my car, and that's why a lot of people mess with me because I don't usually finish my own stuff and it ends up getting sold, and somebody else has fun with it. Huge thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN. Surfshark develops humanized privacy and security solutions to safeguard your data and privacy online. It allows you to virtually travel the world, browse privately by encrypting your internet activity, by blocking ads and malware that get in your way and more. For us, we travel a lot for races all over the country. With all that travel comes having to use public Wi-Fi, which makes it easy for hackers to steal your personal information. But don't worry, Surfshark has your back by encrypting all your online data and making sure it's secure. Other great features about Surfshark VPN that I love is they have 24/7 customer support. You can connect unlimited devices to your account, and they have 3,200 servers in 100 countries. You can always have access to your favorite content from home, no matter where you are. Secure your privacy with Surfshark. Click the link in the description below and use code CJRACE for 4 extra months and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you, Surfshark, for sponsoring today's video. Something big that we've shown a lot of is window lips. We've shown Troy doing that for at least 10 or 12 videos straight. So you've got to see a lot of the window lip stuff and deck lid lip. The good thing about a fiberglass body or a Pro Mod body is the window lips are built in. So we have to do zero work there, which is extremely nice. All the window lips are made to have 1/8 inch glass flush. They're actually about 3/16 deep, which is similar to what we do on those cars. A lot of people would think that a Pro Mod, being a Pro Mod, that it's more expensive or takes longer, and it's actually not. A Pro Mod takes about 500 hours less than building a steel roof and quarters car. Steel roof and quarters car has a lot more stuff to do to get the body straight, to make street style body design work as a race car. So all the window lips all the way around are done on this, which is awesome. This car actually doesn't even have a deck lid, so there's nothing back here except for the puke tank is back here. The sheet metal that you've seen on Cletus's car, on the Eagle, goes all the way back and follows that lip around the back valance there. This stops here, so there's literally nothing, which we'll show you here in a second. There's no sheet metal back here at all. For that fact, this car also has the most titanium that we've ever done in any car ever. And the reason we did more in this car than we would have in Cletus's car is because this car doesn't make the torque, being that it's a 2JZ and not a Hemi that makes 5,300 horsepower. So we did a lot more stuff on this. We'll get into that when we look inside the car. But from the shocks back, so this whole back section of the chassis is all titanium. Even the window braces, all the body mounts are all titanium on this car. Something else you can tell here, Pro Mod, which this is a really little car. A lot of the other Pro Mods don't look so pronounced, but PMAR had to put this here so that this tire would clear. This is a big, I think it's a 34.5 that they have on here now. So it has a really big tire, and Pro Mods, the body's designed where that fits. Now, if we wanted to put a big tire on Cletus's car, it's a lot of hours of metal work. It's not quite as easy as fiberglass work. Not that this is easy, but it's much easier in trying to make metal look good on something like Cletus's car. So save you a little bit of time, but a Pro Mod's like that. You can see the back, the window is sloped a lot. Again, aerodynamics, why the body's designed like that. Carbon wing on this, which we built this wing originally out of aluminum, like we discussed in Cletus's video, I think. His wing is also aluminum, and we may make a carbon wing off of that aluminum wing, but either way, you have to make an aluminum wing first to make a mold for the carbon wing. But you can see this wing is really big. This is not like an MPK wing that's short and short this way and short this way. It's very tall. This car, I think, has been 253 or 256 miles an hour and a quarter mile, so very fast. You want to have a pretty aggressive wing. You can see the wicker, though, like we talked about, is not very high. You don't want a really, really tall wicker unless you absolutely need it, because it does drag. So it applies downforce, but too much downforce, then it has drag, and it'll slow the car down. You have to have some, but you don't want any more than you have to have. Moving around the back of the car, something else this has that Cletus's car does not have that a lot of people have asked about is a wheelie bar. The reason this car has a wheelie bar is because it's a big tire car. If we were to put this car on radial, which we may do at some point, it won't need a wheelie bar either, because the suspension works differently. It separates and pushes the front end of the ground, so they don't run a wheelie bar. Parachutes and chassis design in both Pro Mod and this style car, pretty much exactly the same. Let's look inside the car and show you guys a few of the things that we did in titanium in this car that we've never done in any other car, and some of the things we have done in some cars. But mainly the biggest thing we did on this car that no other car we've ever done has is the dual frame rails, which are always chromoly, are titanium in this car, and are actually bolted in. So it probably saved 20 pounds, which is huge, especially in a car like this that doesn't make a ton of torque. You really have to get the weight down. This car, I think, with water, it has an air-to-water intercooler, so a big intercooler. Air-to-water intercooler, full of water, full of fuel, weighed like 1,940 pounds. So this car is really light, especially if we're having a fiberglass body. If we had a carbon body, it'd probably be another, I don't know, 15 or 20 pounds lighter even yet. So as you can see, the dual frame rail in there, and all the uprights, all the diagonals, everything is titanium. One of the biggest things with the dual frame rail is you're trying to get the flex out of the chassis. So we really try to raise the dual frame rail up pretty high without being too high. You got to get your arm over top of it and stuff. But over the years, we've moved them up higher and we've spread the back out a little bit. It gives it less leverage to twist it. The taller you make it, the stronger it is. So over the years, we've moved them a little bit taller and a little bit wider. This car actually, believe it or not, is really wide. So we had a lot of room there. And we also try to get the dual frame rails out as close to the 4-link brackets as we can, because that's what's pulling on that seat bar is the 4-link bracket. So the farther out you get it, the less that seat bar can flex, the stronger everything is. With something like this also, you're trying to go really light, so all the tubing is really small. We'll do some B-roll stuff, but like all these tubes, like on the other car would be 1 1/4, they're 1 inch. This would be 1 1/2, it's 1 1/4. It's also thinner wall, a lot of 049, some 035, 058. So really trying to be weight conscious on a car like this and still make it strong. It's got to have bars in the right places, a lot of triangulation. It still has one of our big anti-roll bars, super critical on these cars. We'll pull the front end off and show you guys the engine and turbo combination. So basically what we have here is a Titan all billet 2JZ. I'm gonna guess, so if I'm wrong, don't give me a hard time. But I think they probably make around 2,500 horsepower or so. Make a bunch of power. It's got a precision 110, so it's got a massive turbo, bigger than Eagles, but only one. These things are super impressive. I wasn't a big import guy before I built this car. We did a few imports for guys, and super impressive. I mean, I think they've been like 555 or low 550s with one of these, which is insane because it's not much slower than a V8 deal like what Cletus has. So I decided to build this. The other good thing about that stretch front end that you can see is you have a bunch of real estate. This engine is probably, without looking, I think this engine is about 4 inches farther, 5 inches farther than Cletus's engine. The engine itself is probably just as long because it's a 6-cylinder, so it's at least as long, and you still have a mile of room up here for activities. So really nice. And if you ever need to add weight, which they did here, the farther forward you add it, the less weight you have to add to be effective. So that's another benefit of having a longer stick out up there and not a short stubby nose in front of the wheel. A lot of room for stuff. Obviously you can tell a turbo and everything takes up room, but even compared to Cletus's car, there's a mile of room for header and downpipe on this car. It's got plenty of room compared to Eagle. Same thing out here as Eagle pretty much. Titanium firewall. We did this one a little different with B-rolls. It doesn't have the same challenges that Cletus's car had because of his legroom. So we did this one a little bit different, but similar idea here. Titanium firewall, all the same titanium pieces. This has a titanium intake, which I'm not sure, to be honest, what we're doing on Eagle yet for that. And it also has titanium downpipes, which are fine. They can crack, and they do crack. These actually have never cracked, and they've been on there for a long time. But for Eagle, we're doing stainless. They're extremely short. Wouldn't save a ton of weight. If you guys are coming to World Cup finals and we make it to World Cup finals with Eagle, we'll be there. I think Danny will be there. If you guys from the shop will be there, it'll be really cool to see you guys there. I think we will have this car there, or George will have this car there. So we may have both cars. That'd be awesome. 3 cars. We'll have this car. We'll be there with Cletus and Eagle, and we'll be there with Cletus and Leroy once the body's mounted. And I know everybody has asked about Leroy's body, and yes, you will see Leroy's body on this channel, but we're gonna do one combined video. It'll be a long video at the very end of the entire build and how it goes, and we'll post it after Cletus sees the car and he puts a video out. So we will have a build video on that, but it will be at the very end. It'll be a good video because it's something challenging that nobody's ever done that I know of. Making a funny car body where it opens and closes is one thing, but trying to add doors and some of the other stuff we have going on is pretty cool. It's posing some challenges, but we'll definitely post that on his channel probably in the next few weeks after he posts it. So keep an eye out for that, and also keep an eye out for us at World Cup Finals if you guys are gonna be there. We're over here with Cletus's car. Danny's taking pictures of the headers that he did. He's super happy with the headers.
I can claim half.
When we started on the passenger side, which we'll show you in the next video, or on the driver's side, I'm sorry, Danny was for sure that we were just gonna leave the turbo off the driver's side because there was no way the header tubes were gonna work. And now we got him fit, and he's all fired up. So that's a good thing. Like we showed you guys on the other car, the window lips was one of the big things that takes Troy, or would take anybody, a really long time. Just a lot of labor, a lot of time, because none of them are the same. They're all broke at 90 and then shrunk around the window lip. And then had to be welded solid. Danny buffs them down. A lot of work to it. Like we showed you on the other car, it has a window lip. The only thing we have on this car would be on the door, which all doors, carbon fiberglass, come with a window lip. But if you look around here, there's nothing. So if you were to set a window in here, it would just flop. So not only on this part of the car, on the door window and the quarter window, do we do a window lip, but then we hem a piece that goes over top of this so it looks factory. So we do a window lip, it's welded, and then we hem a piece and then weld that solid. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So you got the whole side, you got to do that too. The back window, you got to do that too. Another thing, when you're building a carbon body car, you don't have to weld the quarter panels to the roof. So on this, you got to fit this. The panels never come great. Like the taillight panel to the quarter panel is not great. You got to use a hammer and dolly to get them to fit. It's a process. Then we make our own rockers, because the factory rocker, like we were showing you on the other car, the rocker kind of comes down straight. But on these cars, the factory rocker rolls way in. We don't necessarily like that, and it gets our rocker bars in too far. We don't want to go straight because that kind of looks goofy. So we pretty much make our own rockers that follow the body line straight down. Gives us a little more room to get width on the rocker bars, and that in turn gives you more width for the seat and everything else. You don't want the driver to be squished in there and the cage to be 46 inches wide. You know, you want to push it out as far as you can. Gives the driver more room. You can put more head padding in case of an accident. There's more room for things to move before the driver's in trouble. So something really big, little things like that don't seem like a lot. There's usually a reason for them. Also under the back of this, I think he probably showed you underneath the other car, is all titanium. This one is not. This is chromoly and it has sheet metal. The sheet metal's out of it right now, but the sheet metal completely encloses the back of this. It's a steel roof and quarters car, so just the roof and the quarters alone is probably 100 and some change pounds heavier than the fiberglass. So there's a lot of weight back there too. We can't just hang little tubes out to hold the body. It needs a little bit of support so that body bouncing up and down, the tires shaking, everything else doesn't break stuff. So you got that to deal with. Even a bumper. This has probably took Troy a day. There's panel bond brackets that are one off underneath, bolts from the inside so you don't see Zeus's. So on a Pro Mod, you don't have that. It's already molded to the body. Everything's molded to the body. These wing strips, don't have to worry about that on a Pro Mod. Most of them come with wings, so you can buy the wing sides. Just a lot of different things. We got to close off the tag hole. There's a lot that most people just don't realize, and at the beginning, we had a lot of people call, and mostly people that hadn't raced at this level, but they wanted a steel roof and quarters car. Well, it's not a Pro Mod, so it shouldn't be as much, and it's just, it's not the case. The steel roof and quarters car are quite a bit more money in labor, and pretty much the same money in parts. All carbon bodies, 20 grand-ish shipped. The steel roof and quarters part of this car is cheap, but the carbon front end, especially this Van O stuff, it's extremely nice. It's by far the nicest stuff for a Camaro, but by the time you buy it, you're still 15, 20 grand. So parts-wise, everything else is the same. It's got the same brakes, got the same rear end, same center section, same titanium for the most part. So when you build one of these cars and you want a steel roof and quarters car, they're big money. A lot of labor. This car is 110 on the driver's side, and that car, I believe, is 113. It's been a long time since we built it. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So that shrinks your room here and gives you less room for everything. And then obviously this has a massive engine compared to the 6-cylinder. But on a Pro Mod, you're longer here, and then like we talked about, you're stubby here, and on the other car, you got a lot more room. So we had to kind of cram everything here, cram everything there. This also being for Cletus, we had to move stuff out there. So everything just ends up really tight, whereas a carbon body is designed to be a race car. That's what it's designed for. This was designed to have a 396 in it and a 4-speed and cruise around and go to Sonic. So not the same. Much harder to build a race car out of something that wasn't supposed to be a race car than something that was designed to only be a race car. Another thing we talked about on the Pro Mod is that it has a 45-inch overhang built into the front end. From the strut that's furthest forward to the very front of the front end is 45 inches. These cars do not have that. So to get your 45-inch overhang, you have to add something like this to the front. Like we talked about, you stage with the wheel and you finish with the front end. So everyone's staging with the front wheel. You want to make sure you have your 45 inches. I think some classes can even be 47, but we usually try to aim for 45 or just under, so there's not an issue. But just want to show you this. This is also another really slick piece now that Van O makes. We usually make a titanium frame and a carbon piece, but this fits right on their body. And gonna save us some time, and it looks really slick too, and it's super lightweight. All right, that's pretty much gonna do it for the video today. Thanks everyone that's been watching. I hope you guys liked it, and it made some sense on the differences between a Pro Mod and a steel roof and quarters, Pro Mod chassis, and sheep's clothing. So hopefully that made sense to you guys. If you guys have any more questions, we try to answer them all below. We're gonna answer more of them on the second channel, CJRaceCars 2. We did get a lot more done on the headers and charge pipe. We're finishing up the last header now. The last charge pipe we finished up today. We should have both doors swinging, and we should have a front end pretty close to mounted. So thanks again for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.